your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell at before you blow up a plane.
Basha K. Ali!
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what, good thing to say, I doubt it will stand up to something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean. Oh, welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. You can find this podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Rumble, Rockfin, all of the places where fine podcasts are sold. Before I bring in a fabulous guest, I have some comedy shows to promote, and I'm going to be booking more this summer. Oh, don't you worry. Okay. In July, you know, I guess it looks like I'm taking a break for Pride Month here. July 8th, I will be headlining in Morris Plains, New Jersey at Tiff's Ale House. Great club. They have very strong Cosmos. I'll be headlining, and my buddy Keanu Thompson will be opening for me. Then I'm heading to Richmond, Virginia, Wednesday, August 9th, headlining the Sandman Comedy Club. 7:30 show. Then I'm heading to Houston for the very first time. I'll be at the Anime Matsuri convention August 10th through the 13th out there in Houston. Simpcast will be there. We'll have a panel. We'll have a booth. I will certainly be joined by Lila Hart, but I have to confirm the other gals who will be joining me there. Plus, I'm headlining in Houston that Friday, August 11th at the Secret Group. Get your tickets now. Lila Hart will be opening for me there as well. It's going to be a banger of a show. If you know you're going to be at Anime Matsuri, just get your tickets now. Just get them. It's good to have plans. You don't want to be a loser. You don't want to be at the end of the convention sitting there in your cosplay, you know, looking like a douche. Have somewhere to go, okay? Get your tickets. Thank you, please. I think that's all for announcements. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm like, I have my table assignments here. I have to move that. Okay. This guest and I, we sort of bonded over being on the same Newsmax episode together. What was it, this week, last week? It's all a blur to me. She is a news and commentary writer for the Daily Caller. Welcome to the show, Kay Smythe. Hello.
Hello. I'm just suddenly realizing how ugly my set is compared to yours, because usually I just have like the little box going on. It's so wonderful there. I'm like so stoked to be on.
If you didn't have that wooden like picture behind you, it would sort of look like that you were at the DMV. But that wooden thing is saving you.
It's saving me. I mean, I did start doing I started writing like silly things on this board and changing it all the time. And then I noticed that all the interviews I was doing, like, the people in the control room would cut them out. So I just stopped doing it. So I was like, well, if you guys are so allergic to fun, why should I even try and tempt you with it? That's fine.
Wow.
But then I also realized that it was like very professional newscasts. And yeah, like I'm a professional, but you know.
You're a professional, but you're fun, which is what I strive to be.
Thank you. How did
you, because I feel like I just fell into being on Newsmax. I got some attention from my viral heckler moment, and it's just an absolute blast every time they're like, come back. I'm like, oh my God, really? Thank you.
I mean, like, how did I fall into all of this kind of stuff? Okay, so it's a long story. I used to write when I was super young. When I was like 11, I'd be like bored cold at home because I'm from Britain. I don't know if you noticed.
I did
The
notice a
accent
little, but
sometimes gives it
I didn't
away.
wanna generalize, like, when I hear someone with a British accent, I go, "Are you from London?" Because that's the only place I know, and then I just wait to
That's
be
my
corrected.
favorite one. No,
Yeah.
that's a good go-to, and then I can be like, "Oh my god, you racist! No, I'm Welsh. How dare you?" But no, I used to write, and I loved it. It was super easy. I would just write like travel pieces because I was bored and an only child, and what else was I supposed to sort of
You
do
were
with my
writing
time?
travel pieces at 11?
Oh yeah, I used to lie about my age. My mom still has like the paper copies.
Me
It was in like the Guardian, stuff like that. And it was just, I don't know, like it was just an easy thing to do. It was right at the start of like when the internet was becoming more of like a normal thing. So you could submit stuff online instead of like having to write it out, print it, mail it in, stuff like that. And so I did that for many years. And then I ended up writing a column for the Huffington Post for a few years. They reached out to me when I was in university. I worked with a great organization called the Tab, who eventually got bought out, I think, by Murdoch. They're like a student sort of like news outlet. Like there's individual syndications for everywhere. But everywhere I've ever written, I've just gotten to sort of write about whatever I wanted. And then
Wow.
I came out to the States in 2015, 2016, and I was very like liberal, European, socialist, like very naive, kind of
Very
an idiot, really.
chic,
Like let's
trendy
like
socialism. Yeah, yeah, I think I was too. We all had that phase.
right. And like I think we as women are raised with that because even though like I love my mom and she worked incredibly hard her whole life, but she went part-time to kind of raise me when I was young and stayed that way. So she was around a lot, but really, you know, went along with that mainstream view of like, you can do anything, like you're going to be the breadwinner, you're going to be so successful. And so like that whole like feminist movement, and then like it's even worse in Europe when it comes to like all the climate change stuff. Like we are so heavily indoctrinated from
Wow.
such a young age. And then it took literally like 3 years of living in California to undo all of that and for like the veil to be lifted and for me to be like, oh, you guys are just like doing communism and Marxism, but telling us that it's something else. And
Yes!
like all these people are dying. Okay, cool. What? Who am I? So that was a fun experience.
Good for
Uh,
you for only needing 3 years to unravel all of your brainwashing. I feel like I needed all of my 20s.
well, it was most of my 20s. I got helped along though with sort of, you know, psychedelics really helped at that point. And it's so funny because I work with some Christian organizations because I'm a Christian. And it's so funny, like we'll get into debates on sort of like recreational psychedelic drug use. And I'm sort of like, well, you know, there's a lot of evidence to suggest we used to ingest way more of these substances throughout history just because of our proximity to the natural world and sort of
By
living
accident
amongst
or
it.
just on purpose? Like, people are just accidentally doing mushrooms more back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's even like I've read studies that suggest, I mean, was this in Sapiens maybe even? That like a bunch of different sort of mildly psychotropic elements were in like most waterways for like a really long time, like throughout most of
Fun.
history. And there's also this reigning theory that something like 99% of psychoactive plants and what have you have just been eaten to extinction over the course of humanity's time on this planet. And so
We ate them all.
while well, I'll
Wow.
never like tell anyone to do psychedelics. It's never something I would recommend, but it definitely helped me become a conservative and a Christian a lot faster. That was
Wow.
yeah. So that
That's
was
really
a big
neat.
thing. Yeah, thank
Just
you. I mean,
like
again,
yeah.
not something I'd recommend, but it really helped. It really did. But no, and then I was out of writing for like years. I was just like, I'm done with this. I worked in academics for a long time. I did private sector consulting. I actually worked with one company and came in to research their entire diversity, equity, and inclusion software platform. And
Oh,
literally on
no.
day one, I was like, you know, this stuff doesn't work and perpetuates racism, right? And stereotypes. And they're like, we're going to do it anyway. And I was like, great, cool, sounds fantastic. And then it didn't work as far as I'm aware. I left though well before they went to market or anything. I went back into academics for a few years. And then I wrote an article in like right before the pandemic that was all about the homeless crisis in Los Angeles, because I was sort of watching and tracking what was happening. So I was living on the west side, like Santa Monica, Venice area. And that whole region had been pretty beautiful and wonderful for most of the time that I'd lived in California at that point. And then it felt like overnight, it just became this waking hellscape, just like a complete nightmare. And
Was it this
so
article here on your website, ksmythe.com, Los Angeles homeless crisis is disaster waiting to happen?
no, actually, I'd forgotten about that one. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I
well,
just
I
like,
guess
I get
it
into these
happened.
modes and I just go.
I
But
guess you were right.
I don't even know, because it was like, God, we're talking, I mean, my website looked completely different, but the piece was basically like, it was a piece of satire. It was like, what to expect from your holiday season in Los Angeles. And it was just all about how trash that place is. And Dr. Drew read it. Someone sent it to him. And so I ended up going on his radio show. Then that network I ended up doing my own show with. I was on with Drew on and off throughout the pandemic. I did his podcast a lot at that point, like really focusing on like social decline, which was really what I went to university and ended up studying. So it was
Wow.
kind of nice that I could actually be like, I've got a degree in this. Not
Was
that
your
I
degree in social decline? Like, what what did they call it?
So I did just like, if you don't know what kind of degree you want to do, anyone listening, I don't recommend going into higher education, but if you really want to do it, do a geography degree, because you can make it whatever you want. So I wanted to do a sort of more like natural hazards, earthquakes, geology, like volcanoes, all that cool stuff. And it turns out that I suck at math, so I can't do any of that. But I just had this sort of knack for figuring out like, okay, well, if we're looking at preventing these disasters, we have to just look at the sociology of it. Because that's all it is, right? Disaster prevention is just how do we save people from something we can't control? And then that kind of naturally bleeds into sort of macro sociologies, which is like what policies are put in place and like how can we sort of structure civilizations to be sustainable from a social perspective, but also with that sort of like natural relationship with the world.
Wow.
And so I went super niche in my thesis, and that was actually on how to legalize cannabis. And then when I came out to the States, I sort of took the same overarching theories that I used and applied that to sort of the social decline that we were seeing and the factors that led to it. And so you can kind of go back as like far as the 90s to like track this current spate of social decline. Some people might argue it goes back further. Some people argue that it started a little bit later, like 1997 with the opioid crisis. And so I did that for a while. And then I was like, wow, people find this really quite boring. But people like are super into when I make fun of it. And then I started doing that. And the Daily Caller is just like the best outlet, in my opinion, in the universe to be able to educate, communicate, but also hopefully leave people with a bit of a giggle at the end of whatever it is that what I'm writing about. A lot of my colleagues are far more professional than me, though. So they tend to do a lot of straight news and like really hard hitting investigative stuff. And I'm just not grown up enough for that, I don't think.
That's great. That's what I love about comedy is you can gently change somebody's mind through humor, because nobody likes to be preached to or told that they're stupid or wrong or any of that. So that's just really fascinating. Would you I guess point to the sort of cultural rise of atheism as a reason for social decline?
You know, that's a really good question. I think so, but I want to go like a little bit, not necessarily off topic. Modern medicine, okay? I have this just true belief that while modern medicine is great for a lot of reasons, and a lot of the people that I love wouldn't be here if it weren't for modern medicine, kept a lot of the narcissists alive. Just like most of them, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of look at like personality traits and personality quirks, right? Like narcissists have like to a certain degree, sociopaths, they have like almost like a God complex. And so when you have narcissists who are really great at talking their way into positions of authority, they don't do anything once they get there. That's sort of like the catch-22. Like, a narcissist because they jump from place to place, job to job, friendship to friendship every few months in most cases.
Yeah, girlfriend to girlfriend. Yep.
Oh, yeah, like textbook. I follow this one guy on Instagram, and I swear to gosh, every 3 or 4 weeks, he's like in love with someone new, and like
I've always felt the opposite. Like, okay, I'm finally at the point. I mean, I've been with my fiance like 8 or 9 years. It's like, and I don't even post that much because I just always look at couples who are posting so much of themselves. Like, okay, like I don't know. Sometimes it's a front, sometimes it's a cope. Like,
yeah.
like why can't you keep some things for yourself? Like, why can't you keep, especially when you're such a public person, you have to keep some things private.
Well, I think, okay, this is another one of my theories on this. I've noticed that in my close friendship group, I guess we've all sort of noticed this actually. It was like a group discussion, but people who talk and prevaricate a lot via social media, they tend to not have people they actually talk to in real life. And so a lot of people who post more about their personal life on social media, but they're not getting paid to do it, that's when I'm like, wow, that's like a super lonely person. And it's also like kind of like a pick me. And like I'll post about my boyfriend, and I'll post about my life on social media. Less so now, just because I really do try to see it more as like a work tool. I'm trying to avoid doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Also
Right.
'cause it's
Be on there to
processing
post
now.
something, to promote something, a show, an appearance, a new
Yeah.
piece that you're putting out. Yeah.
Or like today, just to go on there and see every single person I know posting that new video of Joe Biden falling over. The latest
What?
one.
There's a
Have
new
you
video
not seen
of Joe
this?
Biden falling
Oh
over
my
that I haven't
gosh,
seen?
Chrissy.
How
You
have I
gotta
missed
okay. I
this?
don't know if you can like find it and pull it up.
I will.
Like
I'm Googling Joe Biden falling over.
it's really bad. It really honestly it breaks my heart. There's so many.
Yes! That's so funny. It was the first thing to come up. This is from today?
From today. And literally 2 minutes before we went live, I was like, oh God. Oh
I love
no.
the internet. Well, I don't know the context for this. Is this a Memorial Day event?
I think it literally happened as people posted about it. Because I think, and there was something else about him like just wandering aimlessly off today.
Oh, yeah, that's bad. Everyone's screaming. Ah! What a loser. Ugh. I don't know, Kate. Do you think we have enough formaldehyde for a second term?
No way, dude. Dude, there's not enough like formaldehyde in like the cosmos, I think, at this point. I'm sorry, I'm just still looking at the screen because I'm just like, what world do we live in?
God,
But did you
what?
see yesterday James Vanderbeek posted the most epic, like 3-minute long rant as a Democrat, like as a super liberal, basically saying that the DNC doesn't want there to be any primary debate for the Democrats. They're like, no, Biden's our guy. That's what's happening. And James
Wow.
Vanderbeek, who, by the way, his greatest role ever wasn't Dawson's Creek. It was What Would Diplo Do? Probably one of the funniest shows of all time. He's literally there, like 70% of your party don't want this guy to run. If you don't allow for a debate and a primary, then we do not have a legitimate election, and it won't be like Biden won't be a legitimate president if he wins. And I'm like,
Wow.
like James Vanderbeek's out there saying that now, like
That's
you know,
based. That's great.
is.
I like that a lot of Democrats are feeling emboldened to speak out. And like, why does it have to be everybody in the center right or right saying the common sense things? I think that's pretty cool.
It is. I thought it was pretty cool too. It's always nice to sort of see celebrities speak truth to power in that way. But I feel like, one sec, before all of that, you asked me, is the rise in atheism to blame for a lot of our social decline? And the answer is yes, I think it is. But on the topic of celebrities, So people like, I didn't realize how Christian Justin Bieber was. Like, I was watching this video the other day of
Yeah.
this like air stewardess who was like, she'd had like a horrific childhood and sort of her early 20s, a lot of trauma there. And she was working for Justin Bieber's private jet when he was in, I think it was Colombia. And apparently one of the first things he said to her was like, do you know Jesus? And throughout the course of the flight and their conversation, it sort of like sparked this thing back within her. And now she has gotten
Wow.
through, and like she did the same thing I kind of did. Like I didn't have any of like the sort of childhood trauma she did by any means, but like definitely early 20s, a lot of chaos there, a lot of, stress. Who am I? What the heck is going on in life? I thought I knew everything and I was wrong about everything. And I sort of tried the whole like yoga, meditation, all that kind of stuff. And it's like really just a short-term fix, I think.
Right. There's
And
only
then
so
when
much
you
kombucha you can drink. Yeah.
exactly. And if you drink enough of it, you can get a buzz though. So that's kind of cool.
That's true.
But no, like Justin Bieber, he's out there like helping people get through trauma through faith. Chris Pratt, like the second runner-up in American Idol, was a Christian singer this year. And like the list goes on. Like we've got The Chosen is now like, I think Lionsgate just bought like full distribution rights for it.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
I mean, the list
That's
just goes
exciting.
on.
And that was like just like the little movie that could.
I know, right? And
Yeah.
like, what a great backlash to the progressive movement. Although I will say, I wrote an article today. Speaking of entertainment, The Little Mermaid. Okay, so we've got like a live action Little Mermaid now.
Yep. I've seen it. Oh boy.
Tell me everything.
Okay. Well, I really wanted to. I was very much nostalgia baited into this because it's probably my favorite movie from my childhood. I love The Little Mermaid. I hear the songs and I'm like, "Oh my god, like it takes you back there." And there were scenes where like that were exact copies from the movie where you do feel that like, "Oh my god, this is just like the version that I loved." But the main actress, what's her name? Halle Berry, or Halle, whatever. She's not that great of a singer, so for that, it kind of took a little bit away from me. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
but the story is so great. Uh, it's hard to mess it up. But I thought the adding of Aquafina as the seagull was a miss for me. She's not a good rapper. You could tell she was trying very hard to hide her black scent. I'm talking about Aquafina as the seagull, and I thought the crab looked kind of creepy to me. Some of the graphics, some of the like CGI was a miss for me, and I don't know. I just think they went out of their way to virtue signal a bit, and I don't know. It was just unnecessary, like a lot of unnecessary race swapping, I think. But like I'm also coming at it from the perspective of someone who looks to criticize these types of things, and I don't know if that bothers the average person, going to see the movie.
Well, I mean, I think it's fair, like, especially when you have such an attachment to the original. Like, if they tried to do sort of like a woke version of like bed knobs and broomsticks, I would lose my mind. So I think you're being really fair. I think you're being incredibly diplomatic, more so than this guy, that I wrote the story about. So this guy is on like a bunch of boards. He's like some dude at RADA. He's part of the Sir Lenny Henry Center for Media Diversity. So I don't know. Lenny Henry isn't famous out here. He's an incredibly famous British comedian. So this guy's clearly got like a job, like a grown-up job.
Right.
And he thought the Little Mermaid. Sorry, my cats are trying to intrude on the podcast. But yeah, he basically was just like, no, the Little Mermaid, which was clearly set during the time of chattel slavery, it didn't talk about that enough.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah, that's what
like,
every little girl dreams of, growing up and being a glamorous slave. Yeah, let's show that.
Yeah, right? It's just like it's a freaking children's film. Obviously this guy missed the point big time. And it's also like I don't think he realizes that And I don't think most people, right, in the progressive movement realize how much, so much of their narrative kind of like destroys childhood early. And like, obviously, that can happen a lot younger for women anyway, because like biologically, we sort of have our childhood like swept under the rug, like, or swept out from under us. Like, I would argue, sort of when puberty starts, that was it for me. I was like, oh my God, this is like, what do I have to learn about? Like, this is terrifying. I'm not a child anymore. And I'm like,
You
dude,
go
I'm a
into awkward
6-year-old.
mode. You're like, you have to figure out how to start to be an adult, I guess, or be an adolescent. So
Yeah.
the
It's
fun
like,
is over.
yeah, it's a bit of like like the sparkle kind of leaves. Like when you realize like there is all of this sort of horror and sadness in the world, like a lot of that twinkle fades. And I don't know, it makes me really sad to think, like when people are going off, even about all the pride stuff. Okay, it's another sort of example. We can force the history of slavery down people's throats, and the pride thing too. It's sort of like, I don't really care if anyone's gay. I have sort of classic trope. I've got loads of gay friends, but I do. And family members who I love unconditionally. But none of them really see the benefit in forcing children to understand what sex is super early, because what is pride? It's like it's great to be I guess supportive of family members and everything for sort of like their choices that don't hurt other people. So I don't want to like lump the transgender movement in with this, but for kids, it's like, oh, pride means when a guy and a guy love each other, or a girl and a girl love each other. And it's like, okay, but why don't you have like an entire month for when a guy and a girl love each
Straight
other?
love, right. So you get celebrated more when you're gay? Okay. Wow, if I'm a kid looking to be celebrated and validated, I might lean towards that.
Yeah, and it's like, again, I'm not saying that that's like something that's like forced upon the movement, but it's also one of those things where it's like, when I was a kid, I understood what gay couples were, and it just sort of went straight over my head. I was like, okay, cool, that's normal. Like, we don't have to, like, we don't hate on it. We don't like
Right.
talk crap about it. It's just one of those things. It's not something I am. It's, but okay, cool, whatever. It was just left like that. And now it's just become this like, it's almost like a sexual movement in
It
so many
really it
ways.
it really is, and I learned about all of these terms because I chose to, because I was a women's studies minor. I learned about the difference between, like, transsexual, transgender, non-bi, like, all of the things because I was interested in it, because I was in that my feminism phase. I've always been very interested in, like, psychology and why people behave the way they do. I just it's just as relevant as I think teaching kids, like, what's under the hood of a car. It's just not gonna be relevant to them until they're, 16, 18, right? Until they start driving. It's like, you're not even driving yet. So why do you need to know, like, what's going on under the hood?
Exactly. Wait, so you were a women's studies minor. How did you kind of go through that same process of seeing through the darkness and into the light, if you will?
Well, it all started with trying to get an air conditioner in the window by myself, and then I realized, "Hey, we're gonna need men." I can't scare them all off just yet. I need someone to help me put this IKEA furniture together. I can't open these jars by myself. Like, what is the point of being a strong, independent woman if you can't open a jar of pickles? So,
Or reach the top shelf, quite frankly.
right, right.
Yeah.
I have to climb up, yeah, onto the counter to get things for myself. That's stupid. And just, like, living, just this practical life living, like, once you leave college, you see what the world is actually like, once you're in a job, once you're in a 9 to 5, once you're in, like, a grueling, soul-sucking job, then you care a lot less about, like, all the illegals getting, everything that regular citizens get. You like you honestly you care a lot less about the homeless when you can barely make your own rent. You just shit gets real quickly. So really just kind of living, and I think my sense of humor really led the way on my journey into being kind of like anti-woke and freedom of speech. I've always been like very passionate about that. And then I think around 2018, it's like, oh wow, we can't make fun of certain groups of people, or we can, or if you are a member of that group, then you can make jokes about that. I just didn't like the idea of putting so many rules on comedy, and I enjoy kind of pushing up against them. So, but for me politically, I came around kind of late, probably around like, yeah, same thing, 2018, 2019. I didn't vote for Trump the first time around. So I'm kind of, I feel like late.
No, I mean, I was like, it was probably around the same kind of time because I remember watching the 2016 election. I remember my dad was in town, and we're very like polar opposites politically now. And I remember saying to him, a couple of other people that day, I was living in Venice Beach, so very like woke and progressive before that they like were words. I remember saying, I was just like, this guy's going to win. This guy's for sure going to win. I don't really care how I feel about that because I wasn't even like, I don't think I was even thinking of applying for a visa at that point. I was out here visiting, or maybe I was. No, it was 2016. So yeah, I would have had my visa. So maybe it was when he launched, I was like, this guy's going to win. But definitely I remember on election day, because we had gone out like sort of cycling around the West Side. Because again, you could do that at that point and your bike probably wasn't going to get stolen. It
Good
was
old days.
amazing.
Yeah.
Man. But everyone that I stopped and bumped into, I'm never going to name names or anything like that. But I don't know. I think it's the British accent. At that point, a lot of people would sort of like tell me stuff they wouldn't necessarily tell other people without me even like asking.
It's because you're a water sign too. It's
Is
people
that a
just,
thing?
it is very much a thing. Yeah, because you're more perceptive and like we're good listeners. It's also like a woman thing too, but like I think, not to sound like one of those girls that's really into astrology, but all of my girlfriends that are water signs, whether they're Pisces or fellow Scorpio, they're just like, I don't know why, but people just open up to me. They just pour their hearts out, and I have that effect on people too. So I think it just, can make
No,
people.
I love that. I had no idea. Yeah, we're Scorpio buddies. And you're incredibly easy to open up to. I feel like I'm like dominating the conversation. I apologize.
Well, you're also a lot
But,
smarter than me, and I'm interviewing you, so it makes sense to have you do more.
That's absolute bollocks. No, it's just the accent. I could literally sit here and say anything,
Really
and
helps.
people be
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, I believe her." The moon is hollow, though, straight up.
Full of cheese. Yeah.
But no, back in 2016, yeah, I had this thing where everyone's like telling me all this stuff, and I was like, dude, everyone I know who's got like real money, like FU money, they're all voting Trump. They're all conservative, and they all
Wow.
think this guy is great. And so I was like, as soon as I realized that, I was like, yeah, he's gonna win. And I probably cared at the time, but I think more of me was like, yay, weed's gonna be illegal soon in California. Who cares? Like I'm here to just hang out and live in the sunshine and write and I was 21, 22. I didn't know
That's what
anything.
21-year-olds are supposed to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe. But it was it was funny, yeah, sort of going over those first few years being under Trump. And then I actually renewed a visa under Trump. That was like the real clincher for me.
Really? What was that process like?
Well, under Obama, I filed in like, I don't know, February. I was supposed to find out within 2 weeks. And you pay like a huge amount of money to get an answer quickly. Sort of like an expedited process. And not only did they just not reply, but when they finally did reply, they needed more information. So I was like, that's fine, sent along the additional information. My visa got approved and they didn't tell me for another like month or two. So I'm there like, cool, whatever. Like, it was great that I have all this, potential work lined up, but probably not going to be able to do it. And then I got like a random email from my attorney at like 3 p.m. on a Wednesday that was like, you're approved! So then I was like, okay, bye fam, and then moved out here. But
Wow.
so that was what it was like under Obama. I had a very similar process under Biden. Under Trump, I think my attorney filed on a Friday, and it was approved before we woke up in California the following Monday morning.
Wow.
So anyone that tells me that Trump is an anti-immigrant or that conservatives are anti-immigrant, I'm like, actually,
That is so important to know, and because I think a lot of Americans just have no clue. A lot of people haven't been outside the country, or they don't know anybody who's come in from abroad, and they just have no idea what that process is, and they just believe what the mainstream media tells them. So
yeah, they didn't give me a phone. They didn't even get this. They didn't even relocate me to a majority Republican jurisdiction and give me a right to vote. Can you believe that? And I did it legally, and I paid. Not
wow,
to
they
make
didn't send you
light
to Martha's Vineyard.
I know. I mean, I'm not trying to like make light because I do think what's going on the border is one of the worst humanitarian crises in history. I mean, the entire Democrat, I think, policy at this point has just normalized and promoted, I guess, in many ways, sort of, yeah, like the greatest human trafficking operation.
Aren't there something like
ever.
85,000 children that have gone missing from the border, like some insane number like that? And it's just like nobody knows where they are. It's like
Yeah.
you could look into it, but it's probably gonna keep you from sleeping at night. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that sounds about right. I know it was like I read somewhere. I mean, I've seen some shocking numbers. I leave most of the border, like real border reportage to my colleague Jenny. She's fantastic. She leads all those sort of big investigations, and that's her go-to beat. But the numbers that I see from her stories, it's just absolutely horrific. But I think people are waking up because of the fentanyl crisis, right? Like I bumped into I think it was a senator, I want to say, in Dallas Fort Worth Airport who's from Ohio, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing down here? He's like, we were visiting the border, and I was just like, you went the wrong way. And he was like, no, we have to come to the southern border because people are dying of the stuff that comes over this border in my jurisdiction. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, wow, okay, didn't realize that. I mean, anyway, how do we even get onto this?
Good for him for being out there.
Inflation.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think there were parents that were in a lawsuit because their children were able to buy fentanyl over Snapchat, like just insane. Like, and then these messages just disappear, and they were able to meet these drug dealers through Snapchat. They would exchange addresses, whatever. They'd come to that, and then the messages just disappear, and then the kids overdose, and then they have to figure out what happened. It's shocking and crazy, and I'm so happy social media wasn't a thing when I was a teenager.
Oh my gosh, right? I mean, I don't think social media was a thing. I'm trying to think. MySpace, maybe for a minute there. I don't really like not Facebook. That was like more towards college years.
We should go
Snapchat.
back to the top 8 days. So you had an interest. Seems like you were sort of figured things out early on. Were your parents particularly pushing you Republican or Democrat or a particular party?
Yeah, like super registered liberal Democrat back in the UK. I always like to joke that I could never what's the word? Rebel, I guess. Like I was a very like rebellious teenager, but my parents were just very cool and understanding, and I never got in trouble with the police. I never got pregnant. I never, injured myself. I always got good grades. But, I was always like, let's go out and party, like all of the time. Let's get tattoos. Why not? So, like chain smoking cigarettes. Yeah. I was like one of those teenagers. And,
You were fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I also had a job, so I paid for it with all my own money. So they weren't funding it.
Right.
And then I don't know, it sort of got to the point where I was like, well, if this isn't going to like piss anyone off, then like, I'm just going to grow up and do other stuff, and find fun in other ways. And so when I moved out to the States, yeah, it was, it took a long time for me to be able to not tell my parents that I was like more conservative in my thinking, because ultimately it doesn't matter. I can't vote. But
never? Wait, you have to become a citizen? I guess. I should know this. Well,
Yeah,
that's
and even then, it takes like, I mean, it's I'm at least 20 years out from ever doing that if I ever start that process. But yeah,
but at
no,
least know that you can vote as a dead person, so that you have that to look forward to.
I mean, right? Like, I'm sure if I'd fall into the other end of the political spectrum, I would be harvesting ballots with the rest of them. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, it's a weird one though. Like, are your family? Do they sort of sway in the same
You
direction
know,
as you, or are they pretty
growing up, like,
chill?
I wish my grandfather was still alive because I remember him listening to Rush Limbaugh when I was very little. I'd go visit, like, my grandma's house, and he just seemed very much like an adult. He worked at a marketing company. My grandmother, very religious. She had like 100 Bibles. She was always trying to slip a New Testament into my pocket. And then I was like, oh, Bibles, religion, that's kind of for old people. Same thing with like conservatism and like being a Republican. And I was like, oh, all that. I'm like, that's just an old people thing. And then my mom just always voted default Republican, but not politically activated or passionate about anything in particular. My dad was always a cynical, surly independent. I remember hearing him talk about like Ron Paul, but then mostly just everything is fucked.
Yeah,
You know, every man for himself, like, but very cynical, very black pilled. And
I
still
love
to this
that.
day, extremely black pilled and has no faith in anyone, anything. And then you learn like eh, I kind of he's a good example because like you listen to him, like if I were to tell you his beliefs on paper, you'd be like, oh, he sounds pretty racist. And then you'd be like, well, no, actually he was a landscaper and these are his real life experiences of like the types of people that would over and again like cheat him out of money or screw him over or like dick him around. And it's like, is it racism if you've lived it? So
I
it's
mean,
yeah.
that's fair. I mean, also, I didn't realize we were allowed to swear on here.
I
I
guess so.
never I
Yeah.
never get to swear anywhere in my work.
Swear
So,
away. Go
oh my
nuts.
God, this is so
Just don't say well, you
refreshing.
could say the N-word if you really want, but don't
No,
edit it out.
no, I'm good. Don't worry. I don't think there's going to be any need for that. But no, like I get it. I have exactly the
Like,
same deal
pent up.
with like the English. Like those people fucking suck. Like I
Mhm.
don't know if you've had the misfortune of spending time with like English people when you could be hanging out with the Welsh. Oh God, like we have this running joke, like anyone who wants to invade England gets to keep it. We'll just stick on our land that we've been in for millions of years. So, you know, just leave us the fuck alone. But no, I think like, look, I love and hate having different political ideologies to my folks. My mom, it sounds like your mom and my mom are probably very similar, like just kind of stay out of it.
Yeah.
I think your dad and my dad, if we put them on the front porch with a bottle of beer, especially if my dad had a guitar, we wouldn't see them for like 4 or 5 days.
Oh, wow.
Add in a
Mhm.
spliff, we're done. You know, like we got to do this. You guys got to come down to North Carolina and visit. It's
Oh, definitely. That could be arranged. Oh, wow.
oh wonderful,
I'm all
wonderful.
for
I'm here for it. You get
I'm
to
all
come
for
and see my shitty house. I love my shitty house,
I love
and
shitty
it's
homes.
so cheap compared to like all of the Democrat run
Yes,
cities. So cheap.
it is. And you're
Yes.
not, no one's jerking off on you on public transit. It's nice.
Oh
Mark
my
Zart,
God.
Creepy Joe just fell on stage at the Air Force oh, that's what that was, the Air Force Academy graduation. Haha. That's
I mean,
funny.
like, this is the leader of the free world right
Is
now.
he though?
Is he though? Right? Like,
I think it's a different puppet, same hand.
Are you into like all the conspiracy
Yes.
theories? Okay, which one do you want to hit first? Because
Oh
like right
god.
now, I know that the weather is being manipulated. Like I'm
Oh,
convinced of it at
absolutely,
this
and they're
point.
not even hiding it anymore. They're out about it, like, they're like, "Oh, yeah, we're cloud seeding or whatever," and they're definitely way more out about it than they were even 5 years ago, and I'm just like, "Well, what is the point of that? To control people's mood? To control"
I mean,
I
to
don't
be
know.
honest with you, like when I don't know if you ever do this. Sometimes I try and like put myself in the shoes of people who make these decisions. Like
Yeah,
the
what did they
people
get
who
out of
thought
it?
that like making most forms of assault and sexual assault and abuse of children like a glorified misdemeanor. I'm like, okay, what is the long term? Where is the long term thinking here? If I'm the worst human being under the sun, and these are the decisions that I'm making, what is the long term goal here? And when it comes to like, look, I live in North Carolina. Our state motto should just be weather fuckery because, you know, it's 4 seasons in one day. It's that old Crowded House song,
Wow.
like, should be the theme tune. In my opinion, it's the greatest state, but I'm biased. But if I could control the weather and I was the one of the worst people under the sun, I would literally just do it as a form of recreation, just for like shits and giggles.
Just
Like,
make it
what
rain
other
on the towns that I hate, you know, or like my
yeah.
high school arch nemesis, just have it snow over her house in July. I would do it. I would do wild shit if I was in control of the weather. Oh yeah, all my ex-boyfriends, it would just be a monsoon, continual, no let
Every
up.
single one. I would do like, you know, that really like pissy, shitty rain where like it's so
Oh yeah,
fine, you can barely see it, but then you're out in it for like 2 seconds and you're soaked. Just
enough
that,
to
like
mess up your makeup
24/7.
and your hair. Yeah.
And it starts to go
I
like
would
my
have
hair goes
lightning
out like
bolts
this.
go through the window of my ex's house and just fucking just lightning bolt to the dick over and over again. What do you mean control the weather? That's happened,
That's
right?
an Alex Jones tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. You absolute terrorist. Why would you say that? That's straight up
This is
it.
everyone knows this is a comedy show. Matthew Hammond, Case Smythe's tweets are great. Also, you need to play the scuttle. No, we will not be playing the scuttlebutt. So Kay can full cringe of the movie. Oh, God. Okay.
Explain. Please explain.
It's so bad. It's so bad that it's almost good again. Like it almost goes full circle into like you're laughing. You're like, this is so bad. I'm laughing.
Oh,
It's
God.
Aquafina, the one guilty of having the black scent. She's rapping as the seagull. And it's like they let her have her own song.
Oh my God, I saw this.
And it's about like the gossip in town, but like instead she's calling it the scuttlebutt, and it makes no sense. And I mean, we can listen to it, but your ears are gonna bleed.
You know, I think I saw someone post a video of it. I'm fine to listen to it again if you want, but also like I thought it was a joke. Like
Yeah,
I thought that was like, you know, I don't know, someone like me in the media or whatever just going,
that's that's how it sounds. If any one of us listening were to take our phones, hit the record button, and be like, "Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da," like that's basically the song. Like you don't need to be a famous person to do this. Anyone can do it.
Oh
It's
God.
so bad, and, what I didn't like about The Little Mermaid is how, at first, when she gets her legs and, like, turned into a human, she can't understand the animals, she can't understand the crab and the seagull, and they're like, "Oh my god, she doesn't understand us, what are we gonna do? She doesn't know that." And, oh, they took out the detail that she didn't know that she had to kiss Prince Eric, which makes no sense because now she's got no motivation. But then suddenly, towards the end or halfway through to the end, like 3/4 into the movie, she suddenly can understand the animals with no explanation. I don't like that. Melissa McCarthy is acting basically like a drag queen the whole time, but how many other ways can you really play Ursula? So, that's not my biggest complaint. And I just can't wait for progressives to use this movie as an excuse. But, well, if King Triton really loved Ariel, he would have put her on puberty blockers years ago. You know, he knew that she identified as human, but he just let her grow and grow with the tail. And
Yeah.
now she's gotta get that pesky tail removed. And he had the same powers as Ursula. Like he has a power to make legs, turn fins into legs. Yet he makes all the mermaids swim from across the fucking every ocean for this meaning when he could have just done like a water zoom. He could have just done like a sea Skype, you know? He could have done a why does he have to have everyone swim? The poor Indian and Chinese mermaids had to swim across the fucking a world just to make this mermaid meeting. I
I'm
like
like
sea
so
Skype.
tempted to go really hard into like a bunch of really niche geography jokes about like ocean currents and the Gulf Stream. And
Yes.
like, are we saying we go straight? Like, is it like flying or is it like walking on the ocean floor? Because that makes a difference. Who's got to cross the Mariana Trench? Anyway, we
I
won't.
love that you know so much geography.
It's really lame. Well, like I think I messaged you before we started recording today. I don't even have like a driver's license, but oh my God, I could get up and give like a 2-hour presentation on this crazy volcano out in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which isn't a democracy. I don't know why it's called that.
Are any of them like ready to blow?
Oh, dude, this volcano is fucking insane. Okay, so basically, the volcano itself is part of like a longer structure of like it's part of like a huge caldera structure, which is basically like a giant thing of magma that like moves towards the surface. It's kind of splitting apart Africa as a continent. But as a result, the sort of like row of volcanoes that come down through into the DRC, they're all super active, but they also have the most like flowy lava. Then it's like the highest speed lava ever. It's the only place in the world where anyone has ever been killed by like accidental direct contact with lava, just to put in perspective, right?
Cool.
Like you don't die from lava flows when it comes to volcanoes. You die from like pyroclastic flows, volcanic bombs, methane, stuff like that. So that's the one thing, right, about this volcano. But it also sits next to this lake, which has just such an absurd concentration of dissolved methane and CO2 that at some point in the future, could be tomorrow,
smells
could be
horrible.
100,000 years from now, it's going to have what's called a limnic eruption, which is like this silent eruption where all of the gas in the lake just gets ejected and kills everyone in sight until it dissipates back into the atmosphere. The last time something like this happened, I think like thousands and thousands of heads of cattle died. I can't remember how many people died in the Congo, but I think it was something like, it was definitely like 7 or 8,000 maybe. I could be wrong.
Would we call this the silent but deadly volcano?
Yeah, literally.
Wow.
I shouldn't laugh because it's going to happen, but it's like, what else are you going to do?
Not in our lifetime, right? It's not going to happen in the next 50 years.
I mean, it could literally happen tomorrow. It probably won't affect us here. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, yeah, and then all of the area around both of these natural phenomena is just crazy, war-torn, absolute chaos. Highest rates of human trafficking, slavery, like, you know, there's just like ongoing genocides between like different tribal groups, like the list goes on. So there's nothing we can actually do to mitigate it either, because we can't get in there to do anything sciencey to mitigate any of it. But that's one potential catastrophe.
Well, that's good to know, because I think I have like one listener in the Congo. I looked at my analytics. I think I have maybe a single person. So if you, sir, are listening right now, this is your episode.
Yeah, I'm going to get, oh, maybe it wasn't the Congo, it was Cameroon. So he's definitely going to call me a racist. And you know what? I'm a geography racist. I just don't know. Like, I just want everyone to live and be happy, and there's volcanoes everywhere. So, you know.
I like that I laughed at the idea of the volcano killing people, but then when you said it was going to kill cattle, it made me very sad. But the cattle are smart. I think they know when shit's about to pop off and they get to like high ground or something.
They straight up do. Like, I swear all of the, well, my animals don't do that. All my animals are pretty fucking fat and kind of dumb, but they're really sweet. So we forgive them.
Cats, dogs.
Cats, dogs. We do have a random chicken that lives in the yard. We don't really know where it came from.
Wow.
And it sort of appears. Chicken. Well, it appears every now and again. And so my dad called it, okay, perfect summary of how nerdy my family is. My dad called it Electron, because there's this test that you can do with electrons that suggests we might be living in a simulation. I can't explain it, but it has to do with the way that electrons move through different fields and whether they're being observed or not. And sort of this,
I love that. I'm so down with that idea. I'm down with flat Earth. I'm down with all of it. Like, why not? Like, what?
I mean,
wouldn't it be fun if everything we thought we knew was wrong?
Well, like most of the stuff we think we know is wrong. Like I remember when I was doing my degree, like we had been learning this one particular theory for like months, and the day before our exam, it got completely debunked. And we were like, what the fuck are we supposed to do? So like, but that's the thing, right? Like that's what's so cool about science is like the more you talk about it and investigate it and talk to other people about it, and the more you do it, the more you actually learn. So I'm like, I feel really lucky that I get to spend a lot of time with people who don't necessarily work for like big archaeology or like NASA or any of those places, and who do so much independent research on this stuff, and dude, there's some crazy fucking shit when it comes, like, even like climate change. I have a friend right now who's trying to figure out if there is actually enough correlation between when our like Earth's magnetic poles shift, to kind of see whether that is like potentially a leading cause of historical climate change. He got destroyed by Media Matters and The Verge, along with Joe
course.
Rogan, and then I wrote like a whole rebuttal to it because turns out they fucked up all the science on it.
Because climate change is caused by plastic straws, our hairbrush, our hair
Yeah, yeah.
sprays.
Did you open your fridge today?
Yes.
Yeah, well done.
That,
You murdered the planet.
oh wow, voting for Trump is bad for climate change.
Yeah, not wearing a mask in public.
Yeah, driving your car somewhere.
No, the list goes on. But it
But,
is like,
but driving a yacht to a meeting in Switzerland, that's fine.
no, that's absolutely fine. If you need to get your prostitute to Davos, like you get to get your prostitute in Davos, and she gets a PJ there. I tell you that now. I also wrote that story. That is
Also, you don't even need to
satire.
fly out the prostitutes to Davos because they know to go there. They flock.
They literally
show
do.
Mm-hmm.
God, they probably make so much money. Imagine how
Yeah.
gross it is. Oh my
They
God.
probably
Can you
have so much
imagine?
designer clothes bought for them, but like at the end of the day, it's like the hang is probably not as good, you know.
Oh, the hang must be so fucking lame. And also,
Mhm.
I don't know, like you strike me as, in fact, the first time I saw you on Newsmax, I was just like, oh my God, she's so fashionable. She's so beautiful. Her hair looks so good.
Oh
And
my
I'm just like,
God,
I
that's
made my hair 'cause I
all
haven't washed
Maureen.
it today.
Maureen and Newsmax like does it up. In fact, I'm still coasting off yesterday's Newsmax hair. The makeup is so what somebody in my family made the joke like instead of paying to get your makeup done for the wedding, like just go to Newsmax in the morning, have them do your and then just wear it all day.
I love that. I think that's
Yeah.
brilliant. Is it like Stephanie who does the makeup at Newsmax still? I can't remember. But when I was last in studio, yeah, I wore that makeup, I think, for a day and a half.
You just want to sleep
straight up.
sitting up so it doesn't get ruined. And then like I feel bad. I peel the eyelashes off in the shower and I leave them to the side and it looks like bugs if you look at it like in the corner of your eye. You're like, oh shit. But you
These are
can't
the
keep
things
those
that,
on.
like, yeah, these are the things that I don't think guys realize that we have to go through to, appear on television. Although yesterday I did one of my remote hits with Newsmax, and I was down at my neighbor's place. And they're an older couple, and I was like, "Well, I got to run. I got to do a quick Newsmax hit," and they're like, "What?" I was like, yeah, I gotta go on TV right now. And they're sort of like looking me up and down. I was like, no, I put on eyebrows, obviously. Like,
Wow.
obviously, I don't do it like they do in the studio. But yeah, no. In fact, I think I coasted for about 2-3 days the last time I came up and went in studio for Newsmax on my hair, which I don't know. It's but I was going somewhere with this. Oh, yeah, we were talking about prostitutes in Davos and their designer clothes. I don't know about you. I'm kind of anti designer clothes because I spill everything and I
They're
don't want.
overrated. And you can't
Yes.
unless you're hanging around chicks or gays who are familiar with what designer clothes or what, like most dudes can't tell, don't care. And I'm all for like there's a difference between spending a little bit more on something that's a little more expensive that's gonna fit you better and like wash better and hold up over time versus like I'm just gonna get Louis Vuitton fucking
Yeah.
high heels. Who cares? Like I get angry sometimes when I see like I have a couple of Coach bags, but I'm thinking of because they're very hardcore Pride this year, and I'm like, I think I might just find another brand.
Yeah.
Like
I like Coach bags. They do last.
they really hold up. But I don't have one that's like covered in labels, so because I'm not an advertisement. I'm not a billboard.
Heck yeah. Well, you're at the point now where you shouldn't be wearing any branded thing without them paying you. And if you do wear it out in public, you then have to send them an invoice and then they have to send you a thank you note and a check. This is why my manager loves me. No, I'm just kidding. I would never do that. But like straight up though, that's kind of like, that's one of my get out of jail free cards when one of my like woke fashion designer friends is like, oh my God, can I send you some merch? And I'm just like, dude, I wear shirts from the podcast Come Town. Like, I'm not the right person to advertise.
I have an entire drawer full of podcast shirts and like just my friends' merch and stuff. I'm like, oh God, I get like paranoid because I'm like, I have to go on TV. Like, I don't have Newsmax shirts. Like, I don't have newswoman shirts because I have my wardrobe is like 80% free t-shirts.
But I love that. And honestly,
Mhm.
so was mine. And then my best friend introduced me to, I can't remember the name of the brand. I think it's like Nickiolo or something. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. And it's great because like you don't have to wear a
That's
bra with
cute.
them, which is wonderful.
That's so
And
cute.
I can wear them with sweats, which I am currently wearing. So I always wear sweats. I just don't, I'm not like a jeans person. I don't have the hips for jeans. And then just like chuck on a cheapy blazer because every time I leave my house, I don't know if this happens to you, but every time I leave my house, it costs like $200. So I just like I like my thrifting, I like my swaps, and everything has to be $25 or under. Like I
That's
don't
so
care.
funny.
I mean,
I
that's
don't
just
ever I should probably tally up like how much it is like just to go into the city because I'll zoom into the city to do a Newsmax thing or because I every Monday I have a show at Compound Media. I'll go in to do that. But I used to go in every single day when I had my 9 to 5. So
jeez. Do
it's
you
been a
do
nice
the
adjustment.
subway?
Yes, I do. Every once
How
in
is
a
that?
while, I take the subway to make sure I'm just down with the people. I'm seeing what's going on. I'm staying real, like Jenny from the block. And then no, it's usually fine. I took it the like maybe last week and it's fine. Like it feels like it felt pre-pandemic and it's very chill. But you can always get a sense like if you walk into a subway car, this fucking crazy person, just go to the next car. Like you get my crazy gaydar is like cool, not gaydar, but my crazy dar is pretty attuned, so I kind of get out of there pretty quickly. When
Good
I
for
was younger,
you.
I used to be like, let me figure this person out. And you start doing eye contact. No, you can't even get in their energetic field because you're gonna get stabbed.
Yeah, straight up. And
Yeah.
like I don't know. One of my friends said to me once, and she has like a again like psychology degree, Ivy League, very like she's sort of like very much like you, just like the best sense of humor, but like so just so perceptive with it. Which is what I think sort of brings it up to that like higher level of just pure unadulterated wit. But I was sort of like making fun of like a weird kid in the sort of one social context that she and I were like overlapping. And she's like, no, okay, no, you don't ever joke about being friends with the weird kid. I'm like, why? Why not? Like she's saying like dead serious. And I'm just like, why? And she was just like, there is a reason. There is always a reason why they are the fucking weird kid. And I was like,
Yep.
what do you mean? And she was just like, go watch any documentary about anyone who did like fucked up shit. And they were the weird kid when they were a child. And lo and behold, because I go on my true crime podcast because I'm a fucking stereotype, and I watch my murder documentaries, and I'm like, yep, the serial killer, the pedophile, they were all a bunch of fucking weirdos when
Why?
they were kids.
Okay,
And
so
the same applies to adults.
you're one of
Like
these
there is
textbook women who likes true crime, which I don't, and I don't understand. Is it because you like to be scared, or is it because, like, as a woman, you have this, it's in our nature to be like you're potentially looking out for danger because you want to protect yourself, but it's that like cranked up to 1,000, and you like actually
ooh,
seek out learning about danger and these people who commit these crimes, so that you
that's
maybe part of your mind thinks you're prepared, but you're actually just freaking yourself out.
no. We have like what we call the murder window at our house because it's just like for sure the window that someone's going to use when they climb in and murder us. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. It was a joke.
Um,
No, I think like the true crime thing. Well, I only listen to one true crime podcast. It's the Morbid podcast, and it's two women, and their research is just out of control. Like it's so well done, so detailed. And they also take the most horrific stories and somehow make them like almost funny. They sort of like you don't get grossed out, you don't get like scared listening to it. You learn a lot, but it's very much like not glamorizing these horrific people. And it like the girls who do it are just like really funny. And then I just use the excuse of like any new true crime thing that comes on TV. I'm just like, fuck it, I might be able to write about this. Let's like check it out and see what
yeah,
this is all
research.
about. The murder ones do really scare me. There was like an HBO one a couple of years ago about the Golden State Killer, and that guy, oh God, is it Patton Oswalt's wife, who basically did all of the research before she died very prematurely
Oh my
of
gosh.
addiction to medication, it sounded like. But she did all of the research and laid all of the groundwork that actually led to this guy being caught like 40 years after he had done all of this stuff. And so I was like, that's fucking cool. Like, that's a part of like niche sociology that I want to learn about.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
was terrified. I stopped being able to watch that show on my own. I would have like, I think I was still living in LA, and my best friend out in LA is this like stacked Korean dude. And so him and like all the K-Town boys would come over, and I'd be like, yo, we're gonna watch
Ooh.
this like HBO documentary. It's absolutely fucking mental. And I'd be there like, now I can watch it and not be scared.
Oh
Um,
wow.
but I don't know. I think like for me, I traveled a lot as a child, and so my mom taught me when I was really young, like, look, not all adults are good people. Like, in fact, there are some adults who are really terrible people that do really bad things. You don't need to know what those things are, but just if anyone comes up and starts talking to you, if you don't know who they are, you have a great instinct, you can scream, you know, there's no time I think I was ever like left on my own or anything like that. But we go camping, so there'd be times I'd be running off around the campsite and stuff with other kids. And it was just like, you know, the stranger danger thing was very well enforced. And then after living in LA, well, I made the mistake of making the eye contact one day, and a dude was driving past me in a truck, jumped out, lapped the block sort of like in the opposite direction. So like if I'm going this way, he went out and around and sort of met me.
Wow.
And then he assaulted me, and I like, had to like jump over a hedge. I called the police, a whole thing.
What?
And then I saw him next door, like 3 years later, that he was still out and about doing that in Venice. So that was the last time I made eye contact with a crazy, and I will,
Oh
yeah,
my
never do that
God.
again.
That's
But
really
yeah, it's for
scary.
sure like I'd say it's like, well, it's like nature versus nurture, right? Like I think it's just a mishmash of the two. But what is your apprehension to the true crime genre? I mean, it is a stereotype and it's really overdone, but like
I
I want
think
to know.
I'm not going to listen to something or read something unless I'm going to learn about something that's going to help me either do my job better, learn more about humanity, or make better jokes. So I feel like everything that's not that, if it's not news or like psychology or like trends, well, I guess I'm full of shit because I have books here. I have David Wilcox. I have like conspiracy theories.
Well, conspiracy theories turn out to be
Yeah.
fact eventually. So I think that's just really good research for the future. Do you do like
But I don't
trash
I'm
TV?
not I don't read fiction. I have no time for fiction. I have no time for
Oh.
stories or fun. Like, everything I'm reading has to be for a purpose, or I have to be learning something.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think true crime is like, okay, I'm not I don't know. It's too frivolous for me. It's just like I'm not learning something, or it's not for a purpose.
Well, I got a great show then that I want to recommend to you if you really want to learn how to do something. I just binge watched the whole thing, all 10 hours in like 3 days. I definitely lost parts of my brain, but what I did gain was a really in-depth knowledge of the Los Angeles housing market and how it's going through a pretty significant decline right now, as is the rest of the country. But and I also learned how to dress like a total plastic whore from the Capitol in the Hunger Games. That show is Selling
Ooh.
Sunset. Don't know if you've heard of it. Super educational. You'll
What's it called?
definitely learn a lot. It'll change your life
I'm
almost as
writing
much as the Kardashians, in my
I'm writing it down.
opinion.
What's it called?
S. Uh,
Something on Sunset?
Selling Sunset. It's
Okay.
trash. It's trash
Okay.
TV. It's absolute trash.
All right. I'm gonna look into it.
You are
The
never
chat
gonna
thinks I'm
forgive
not having
me.
enough fun in my life, so I'm
No,
feeling judged.
no, you are straight up never gonna forgive me. Like you'll see things you can't unsee on that show. Like bits of your brain will like melt out of your ears because you're like, oh my god, I sound like a valley girl now. It's like that kind of vibe. But
Okay,
it's
cool.
yeah.
I'm gonna check that out. Oh my god, we got a couple more super chats. Clint Torres, damn girl, you got to be the hardest working lady on YouTube. I feel like I'm getting notifications about you more than anyone. Me? Thank you. Wow, that means maybe the shadow ban is lifting. That's exciting. Clint again in the song Under the Sea. Everything's better down where it's wetter has been my mantra since I was 8 years old. Wow. I guess you matured quickly, sir. How inappropriate. How untoward. Andrew Matthews, at least they cast someone who has eyes in the same place as a fish. Oh, like a hammerhead shark. I did laugh. There was a line in the movie where it's like, oh, she's got that far away look in her eyes. And I was like, is this a subtle dig? That her eyes are far away. And thank you, Magnum Norse. Oh my God, there was so much that I wanted to get to, Kay, but we just had too much fun catching up. I will have to have you back. We'll have to do this
Thank
again.
you so much. I could sit and talk to you all day. Oh, bitch, come here.
Let's do your animals.
Bitch. Oh, this is like the one time you don't want to come on TV, right? Because like you wanted to come hang out the other day while I was doing a live broadcast. So I have 3 cats, bitch, creature, and wonky. And bitch is definitely the nicest. But yeah, she's. Let me see if I can grab
Kay,
her.
do you have a tongue ring?
I used to.
Okay,
Do
somebody in
you?
the chat thought you did. I guess no, Norman. She does not.
No, I have a nose ring.
Oh, cool. I almost got a nose ring. I wanted to get one for years. Hello, chicken. Hello.
You are covered in dust, miss. Why are you covered in
Oh,
dust?
she looks like chocolate mousse. Oh.
You want to get down? I know.
She's
Stan's
cute.
coming in here to say hello. Stan's my dog. She's
You
a
look
girl.
just like a girl that I used to lifeguard with, but she didn't have a British accent. Her name was Lisa Butler. She drank a lot and it was fun.
That sounds like fun. I can't drink like I used to.
I swear my memory for people I went to high school with, grade school, is incredible. And like my people I've just met or like recent friends and family can't remember their fucking names for shit. But I can tell you everybody who was in my middle school art class. I can tell you names
That's
of teachers.
incredible.
I don't get it. I think my memory just punched out during college at some point.
Well, I think that's like the best place to start like switching off though. I mean, that's why I watch trash TV, I think, is because it's so juxtaposed to what I'm exposed to with work. Because even if I'm
True.
not writing the political stuff, my colleagues are. I'm seeing all of those headlines. I have to engage in Twitter, which
Right.
just, I mean, we're all going to be in therapy for Twitter trauma at some point in the next 30 years. Like that's going to be the next thing.
Everybody needs their escape, their release, and that's different things for different people. Like if I really feel out of it, I'll just dip myself in a scalding hot bath like a lobster. Like I'll put all the things in it. Bath salts, bubbles, bath bombs, sometimes these petals that are soap that stay in the bathtub.
Oh, I like those.
Yeah.
Are you like a bath relaxer, reader, magazines, phone?
I will try to read or listen to a podcast. Yeah. Because I just feel like if I'm sitting there, like, of course you are going to be sitting there with your thoughts, but yeah, it is. I'll listen to a podcast. I don't have to for work or something. Like I'll just be like, oh, let's see what Michaela Peterson is talking about, or I'll just pick something random. And then I always, without fail, I get up out of the hot tub and then I feel like I'm about to faint. Like always. It's so fucking hot. I get up, I have to lay down immediately and drink something cold because I feel like I'm gonna pass out. And then I'm fine. And then I go back in, I blow out the candles, I like empty the tub. Maybe that's
like
not good.
Good self-care though. Like that sounds like a good, like that's almost like a steam that's gonna like cleanse you. No wonder you have such great skin.
Oh,
Like I'm
wow.
so jealous. We don't have a tub in our current house, and it was my one compromise then, if you will. And I'm never doing it again. It's just I live in the first world, god damn it.
Oh,
Just get a tub.
get a tub. You can buy those standing up tubs, I think.
Well, I might just get, so one of my friends, he moved out to Los Angeles from London with his bandmate because they got signed by someone. And one of the deals that he thought that he made with the studio or I don't know how it works when you sign in music, but they were like, we want a house with a view and a pool. They were like, well, we got you one with a view. And so he went to Home Depot and just got like a really big Tupperware, like from, the huge plastic tubs, and just filled it up with a hose. And then his bandmate just went and stole a wheelie bin, like the big bins, cleaned it out. And then that's what they used as their swimming pool. And I was like, yeah, I'd do that.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so smart. Yeah, I'm thinking of the old people tubs from the commercials. All right. I'll have to check my sources here. Kay, you're the best. Gonna have you back. Would love to have you on Simpcast sometime, which is my Sunday night show. It's just this, but with more girls and more drinking.
Oh, yes. That would be fabulous. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Tell the good people where they can find you and what's coming up.
So if you Google me, Kay Smythe, Kaysmythe, you will find me. Daily Caller is the go-to place for all my writing, which is way better than listening to my voice, I swear. But no, Chrissy, this was brilliant. I could literally sit and hang out all day. This was so much fun. I'm so glad that you exist. And I'm so glad that we met. Thank you to Carl Higby at Newsmax for introducing us. Carl, also one of my closest friends.
Carl is the best. I always see him he'll always run back into the makeup room and he'll grab a makeup wipe, and it's like he just has to get some of it off of. It's so funny. I'm just like, yeah, you boys that wear makeup, this is what we go through. And he's like, he's like, just get it off me.
It is it's so when you know Carl and who he is. I mean, he is who he is on the show now, which is incredible, the new show. But yeah, every now and again, I'm just like, bro, you wear makeup for work.
Yep. And I forgot the other day that they sprayed it on my neck and my chest. So I kind of just fell, and then I'm like, oh God, right. It's still on me. I'm just getting it everywhere.
Well, you looked fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Kay. You're the best. Can't wait to have you back. Thank you to everybody in the chat for your comments and your questions, and we will see